Welcome to Resolve IBS and IBD Naturally. I'm Courtney Cowie, a nutrition therapy and functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. If you are struggling with the symptoms of IBS or IBD and want to get to the root cause of your symptoms so you can take back your health through a whole person approach, this podcast is for you. Just a disclaimer that the information I'm presenting in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. You should always consult a qualified practitioner before making any changes to your health or medical regimen. That being said, let's get on with the show. So today's post is going to be covering the liver as an organ. This is one I talk a lot in detail about with any client that does an initial consult with me, because we will dive deep into the picture of health that I'm seeing with that particular person, which for most of the people that are attracted to working with me often involves some level of digestive dysfunction. And so what I like to really do is right out of the gate, educate them about the digestive system and try to explain what I often see go wrong and how that could connect back to their symptoms. So the liver is an organ, a very critical organ that does play a role in digestion, but it also does have a role in detoxification. And the reason why I'm going to speak on the detoxification role of the liver specifically today is because a while ago I got a question on my Facebook page about ways to support the liver, which kind of opens up a big wormhole of that topic. So what I'm going to be going through are some simple strategies that you can actually do yourself at home to help support detoxification, to support good liver health. Now, granted, I feel personally that if you're already doing a lot with eating a very whole foods oriented anti-inflammatory diet, which might look a bit different for each person, and then taking care of yourself in general, you probably don't need to perseverate over supporting the liver. There's a lot of just talk, I feel like, in the functional space or the holistic space about doing seasonal detoxes. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but realize that the liver was designed to be our healthy detox organ. And so if you're doing all the basics right, chances are good that your liver is working pretty well. That being said, I want to offer you 5 different, very simple, very easy to implement tools to consider at home if you want to take that a step further and work even more on liver support, liver detoxification. Now, I will mention very quickly too that one of the things I work quite a bit with in my practice are people who have had toxic mold exposure. And then also sometimes in conjunction with that, they have a Lyme disease diagnosis, or we could potentially suspect that Lyme might be part of that as well, because those two biotoxins go hand in hand. So if that's the case, I often do see, though, with those people that they may have already done a deep level of self-education and they're doing a lot already with diet and lifestyle, but they're still struggling to detox properly, simply because biotoxin illness in and of itself will inhibit detoxification. That's what can make it so difficult to effectively deal with and effectively heal from. So with that caveat, the strategies I'm going to offer you, of course, could be used if you suspect or know you have biotoxin illness. You will probably need a lot more support than just these simple things, but these things are absolutely great for someone who's just on a health optimization journey looking to support their bodies even more. Okay, so let's talk about the top 5 strategies that I feel really work well, that are easy to do at home. So number 1 is basic. Drink half of your body weight in fluid ounces of water, and be sure to put sea salt in your diet. If you feel like you don't necessarily need to use sea salt to season and bring out the flavor in your food, assuming that you're doing a lot of whole foods cooking, I would advise you to consider putting a few pinches in your glass of water and trying to get a little bit more into your system that way. It is needed to properly get water into the cells and maintain good hydration status, believe it or not. And this is an area where a lot of conventional medicine will advise people not to salt their food, specifically people who have higher blood pressure, sometimes even kidney issues. But the truth is that we do need salt. It's rich in sodium. It does act as a natural electrolyte, and it's got trace minerals in it, all of which help to shuttle water into the cells properly. So not only should you be drinking adequate water throughout the day, and I don't tend to get too stuck on having my clients track their water down to the ounce. It is nice for them to maybe spend a few days in the beginning paying attention to how much water they're drinking and having a really good idea about that. But I find generally, if you're moving around during the day, you're active and you're eating a whole foods diet, your body will naturally start to tell you when you need water. And generally speaking, most people need to get about half of their body weight in ounces of water. So, just to give an example of that, if you weigh 160 pounds, you would need to get optimally about 80 fluid ounces of water. And then the more active you are, the more you sweat, the more water intake you'll need to replace that. So that is a very simple but important piece to help support liver detoxification. Number two, which kind of my number one segues right into, is being sure you're moving your body in some way, shape, or form. And this could be just as simple as going outside and taking a walk most days. Gentle exercise like yoga and Tai Chi would be great. Really, what we want to just make sure we're doing is getting the lymphatic system moving, which is kind of the, one of our detox systems in the body that helps feed all those toxins eventually into the liver to get cleared through the bowel. And so, one of the worst things we can do for our lymphatic system is to sit at a desk and work and very seldomly move or sit in front of a TV or sit in front of a screen for hours and get caught up in social media or TV. I mean, there's deleterious effects for the brain as well with those things, but just realize that if you've had just a very long work day, even coming home, if you've got the sunlight and the temperature is not cold, getting out and doing a couple laps around the block can really help just offset some of that sedentary sluggishness and move those toxins through so the liver can do its job and help eliminate them, especially while you sleep. Are you struggling with chronic diarrhea or constipation and have been told by your doctor that there's either nothing wrong or that you're going to need to take a med for the rest of your life to control symptoms? What if there was another way? A way that empowered you to take back your health through a smart nutritional strategy and through running the right testing to identify true root causes. If you are ready to say yes to self-empowerment and to starting the journey to real improvement in your gut health, click the link to grab my free e-guide. Number three, sweat. Now, this seems very basic again. And if you're a more vigorous exerciser, you like to jog, you like to swim, you like to ride a bike, even hot yoga or active yoga, if you're doing it intensely or enough time, will start to get a sweat going. That's a really, really good thing. I feel like sweating is kind of underrated, and I've certainly spoken with people that tell me that they rarely, if ever, sweat even when they exercise, and to me that's a bit of a red flag. It means the detox pathways probably aren't working. Something's just not open there at the surface to allow the body to expel toxins properly through sweat. I feel like if you aren't able to achieve a good sweat through movement, it would be a really good idea to see about getting into some sort of a sauna once or twice or even 3 times a week. Of course, saunas can be expensive to purchase on your own, but a lot of times gyms will have those available as kind of a courtesy add-on for like a monthly membership. That can be an option. Other ways to do it is drawing a really hot bath for yourself. Adding some Epsom salts can help to draw toxins out of the body, and that will absolutely support the flow outward and help support the liver to kind of remove those things from the body. But then the hot water will also induce a sweat, and all of those things are really, really great. Number four, try wearing a castor oil pack a few times a week. So, castor oil packs are awesome for supporting clogged detox pathways and in general for supporting the liver. And if this is something that you've never heard of before, it's actually a surprisingly simple tool. Queen of the Thrones makes an excellent castor oil product, and I'll try to link to that website below this live post if that's something you want to check out. What's great about it is that they sell their castor oil packs typically as a kit that comes with the actual castor oil cloth itself, plus the castor oil and potentially any other accessories you might order with that. Castor oil, if you've never worked with it before, is very sticky. It's hard to get off the skin somewhat. If you get it on your hands, it's just kind of a sticky, thick residue type of oil. And so You could traditionally take like an old flannel shirt and cut that up, and then saturate the flannel with castor oil, put that over the liver, and then wrap that so that, if you're going to put a shirt over that, it doesn't get stained. Castor oil will definitely stain too. And that would work as well, but a lot of times people just don't want to mess around with cutting up old shirts or pieces of cloth. So Queen of the Thrones does a really great job of just providing you with something that's meant to be reused over and over again. She's got lots of videos on how to properly clean it, how often to clean it, how often to use it, how often to replace it. She's got just a really nice just business around supporting castor oil use for various different things. But traditionally, the main way it was used over time was to support liver detoxification. Castor oil does help to increase glutathione, which is our body's main antioxidant, and we need adequate amounts of it to essentially grab on to different toxins and help shuttle them into the liver and then go through this process of deconjugation to be eliminated eventually through the bowel. And this is all done obviously externally. So if you put this on, you're literally putting the castor oil pack on the surface of the body, on the skin, on the upper right abdomen, or you could say lower right rib cage where your liver is found. So in terms of just time to wear it, I believe what she recommends is at least an hour, but it definitely can be left on much longer. She actually does say that if you wanted to put that on at night and sleep with it on, you could absolutely do that, and that would offer you even more benefits. I personally don't do that when I use a castor oil pack simply because they're messy. I don't want to get my bed sheets or my shirts stained, but it is a nice, easy thing to work with that doesn't require swallowing any supplements or doing anything internally. So a very gentle but effective way to help support detox. And then lastly, just to give you something on the supplement end of the spectrum, taking a high quality liver support supplement absolutely can be a good idea if you feel like your liver maybe is a little sluggish or congested, or to do it cyclically just to help support and clear those pathways. There's a lot of great products out there that help to give the liver the precursors it needs to build healthy bile. Biotics Research is it's a lab company that a lot of practitioners work with, myself included. They have very excellent products, very high standards. They have a product called Beta-TCP, which is very, very gentle and is a great way to give the liver the precursors it needs to build healthy bile. And really, we want to have good quality bile because that is the main fluid that not only stimulates healthy peristalsis and stimulates the intestines to move stool through to have a bowel movement, but bile is also what grabs onto toxins and starts to shunt them through and eliminate them from the body. I've actually seen in my use of Beta-TCP over time with various clients, especially some of my women who thought they had hit menopause either in their late 40s or even sometimes early 50s, doing the initial assessment, getting sort of the felt sense or the read, especially when I used to do lingual neural testing on them, that they would benefit from some liver support. I would often recommend Beta-TCP. They would start taking it and then be shocked to see their periods come back. And so it is actually that powerful at times. And this can simply happen because it will get bile moving in a healthy way. And as I explained to a lot of prospective clients on initial consults, bile is needed to break down healthy fat, and healthy fat breaks down into essential fatty acids, which are the building blocks of your sex hormones. So it would make sense that if their sex hormones were deficient or dysregulated, possibly because of sluggish or stagnant bile, that getting the bile moving again would help them digest their fat better. And one of the positive outcomes of that would be actually having a period. And so it's funny because they'll say, well, I thought I was kind of done with that and it's back, and that's maybe not necessarily always, what they desire, but I always encourage them and say, look, your body is going to do what it's going to do. And ultimately that's a good thing because it means that the period dropped not because it was time, but because your body was lacking these resources to maintain a healthy period. So, did you find this episode informative and helpful? I'd love to have you leave me a 5-star rating. Do you have questions about holistic approaches to optimizing gut health that you'd like to ask? Please leave your question or comment below, and I will be sure to address it personally or cover it in a future episode. Be sure to check the show notes for any resources mentioned in today's episode. See you next time.